What's going on, Packers fans? Aaron Nagler here with Bill Schmid, the return of Carry the G Radio, the podcast. Billy, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, brother. Good to be back. Good to be back in the saddle again and ramping up with, offensive line galore, conversations and storylines going into training camp and mini camp. I can't wait for this year.
It's manna from heaven for the big boys on both lines, really, because you were talking about, yes, there's going to be a lot of competition along the offensive line, but man, all eyes are going to be on that defensive line since there were kind of precious few major additions, as it were. Got to see what DeMarcus Covington has up his sleeve to get these guys after the quarterback, rushing forward. Can't be blitzing all the time, Billy. Can't be doing it.
No, and listen, I mean, the amount of jobs that apparently are available on the offensive line, there's more than you would have thought. And there's going to be a lot of opportunity to go and win spots on that defensive line. And, hey, man, put up or shut up time for everyone's been talking about Lucas Van Ness, but let's be honest, my guy Devontae Wyatt as well. Like, everybody is in line to you got to make some moves right now if you're going to be locking yourself in for the next couple of years and figuring out if you're going to be a part of this group. So I love the competition that they got. And there's going to be so much time for it to all play out, but they got a big amount of snaps you mentioned. They didn't have a whole lot of additions there, but they had departure of a lot of play and a lot of snaps. So they got to figure out who's going to be able to take up and make up for those.
You know what it is, man? The line play. It determines the wins and the losses. The game is won and lost in the trenches. So, like you said, there's a lot of offseason to play out, right? We can't wait to get to Ray Nitschke Field this summer for the start of training camp, see some of these competitions play out. But until then, what do we got, Billy? What do we got? We got a schedule. We got a schedule. We got games.
We got spreads.
You and me talking about wins and losses and going through this schedule and seeing how we, envision it playing out. Now, if I was a real producer, which God knows I am not, sir, I would have gone back and listened to our prediction video from last year to see how we did.
Yeah,
I didn't do that.
That would have made a lot of sense. Yeah,
I don't have time for that. That's pre-production. I don't do that, Billy. So
listen, but I do want you to know that I actually took screenshots of the schedule this year, so instead I don't have to continually find it. But I also said screenshots because instead of finding an actual one PDF that would have all of it lined up and made sense, your boy just 3 different pages worth of the schedule that I had to fire in there. So
Billy, just go to Packers.com and get the printable PDF. What are you doing? I don't understand this younger generation.
But the thing is, and you're going to like this, Packers.com doesn't have the ESPN bet suggested spreads. So that's what I'm also kind of actually the party.
Given where we are in this day and age with the NFL, it's
kind of surprising, ain't it?
A little surprising we don't have the spreads on these games.
They're going to find in let's be honest, just sell that out to one of these spots next year.
It's coming. That check is in the mail, no question about it. The other thing that's in the mail is the schedule, and it's in people's inboxes, and we've been talking about it quite a bit, obviously at CHTV, but man, like I said, last year we went through this exercise. This is something I am pretty anathema to in general, but I like doing it with you because I think we are both kind of understanding the assignment. We're not going to take this too seriously, but we have thoughts, we have ideas, we have takes, as it were, when it comes to the green and gold.
And it's also one of your only times to be able to get off your takes about what other teams are going to look like.
Exactly.
And it's not about who you play, Nags. It's about when you play them and how you think they're going to develop. And, a couple of the things also, wins and losses, whatever. No one cares how many we hit last year.
Right.
What they care is that, you were correct that the Green Bay Packers were favored when they went down to Chicago. We have those benchmark moments that we do remember, and the audience is waiting for the stupidity that I'm going to fire up here coming up in a couple about what the division might look like later.
I'm glad you brought that up too, because we made a couple bets along the way last year that we never ever followed up on.
No clue what we had said on it either.
I know I won that one though, so that's good.
You're 1-0. You're 1-0.
Got to go 1-0 every week.
Every single week.
Much like the Packers do. And look, I'm glad, like I said, we're going to go through this exercise. And you and I talked on the radio last week a little bit about this. And I said it there and I'll say it here. I'm so glad to find a fellow traveler when it comes to how you view the schedule and looking at it outside of a doom and gloom, oh, they've got an early bye and they play all these games on the road at the end. And it's like, those are the circumstances. What are you going to do about it as a team? Like, that's just my gut reaction. Like, I don't dwell in the negative. I want to look at, and I think you said it, like that stretch there at the end, all those away games, let's get ready for the playoffs. Let's get in some adverse situations and some difficult kind of moments and see what the team is made of. I love that. I'm all in on that.
And I am also all in on trying to make yourself comfortable being uncomfortable, right? And the schedule is going to put them in a lot of uncomfortable spots, right?
Yep.
Early Thursday night, early bye, Thanksgiving, massive number. I mean, that's going to draw a massive number when they go to Detroit. And it's a game that's going to have a massive say in deciding who represents the NFC North, I would assume, at that point. And you're right, the back half of the stretch and the back half of the season, I love to think of how this has to get messaged to the team, right?
Yeah.
How each week can you spin it? How will Matt LaFleur walk in there and spin somewhat of a week 5 bye? Not how this is going to be good.
Right.
How will he be able to spin the fact that you're going to play pretty much all playoff teams for the last 6 to 7 weeks? But it's iron sharpens iron. They talk about it in August. Why would it not be the same thing in December?
Well, it's funny because I do think the messaging for the week 5 bye is pretty simple. Look, the Eagles had a week 5 bye last year. And they won the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Also, shout out to last year because you were on the Eagles right from the get-go. I remember in the offseason last year, you were all about the Eagles being the best team in the NFC. So you were not only correct about that, they were the best team in the league.
Yeah, you know what's bullshit, though? And let's be honest, is that I lost so much money during the postseason not betting on the Eagles.
That's funny you bring that up because we were at the Super Bowl the night before the game. And you kind of lost your nerve a little bit on the Eagles because I was saying like they're going to win up front, their lines, they're not going to be able to block them, etc. And I don't know, man, you got scared by like Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes. Yes. Like you were kind of like in that they have the best coach, they have the best player, blah, blah, blah. As we said at the top of this video, games won and lost in the trenches. And that's how the Eagles did it.
Well, and it's also the you can't win a game in the first quarter, but you sure as hell can lose one. And then you find out they lose it so quickly. Right? And I mean, I was smitten, and also I was just being, guided by the amount of money that Mahomes and them have won me in that game over the last half decade. So I was like,
your gambler, your inner gambler took over rather than your football analyst. See?
Yeah, it did.
Be careful with that.
Same deal when I took the 6.5 with Washington the week before, and also took the Rams money line along with the Packers money line because at the end of the year I thought this team's got one and done written all over them because they're a quarter and a half of turmoil away from somebody throwing his novel on the sideline, throwing a CeeDee Lamb fit on the sideline like they did against Dallas, or Dallas did against Green Bay a year ago. And instead, you just couldn't put them into enough adverse situations. But they were ripe to be beaten there in those last games. So showcase, like you mentioned, though, the week 5 bye was massive for them because they were not the same team going into that bye that they were coming out because they became a freight train after that week 5.
Absolutely. And here's hoping for the Green Bay Packers to kind of figure that out themselves this year. But let's start at the very beginning, as Julie Andrews once famously said. And let's talk about the Detroit Lions coming into Lambeau for Matt LaFleur's first home opener to kick off a season ever as the head coach of the Green Bay Packers. Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
The amount of times and the amount of times that they've opened against the division is interesting in that same time frame, right? Like 2019, Chicago, Minnesota. I think it's the best time to be able to get Detroit. Even though there's plenty of unscouted looks, as we'll hear a ton of. Like that's going to be
a phrase you're going to be able to make money on if you bet on hearing it at press conference.
Unscouted looks and alignment. Like those are the different things that a lot of people want to be able to fire in. Because they are still one of the best rosters in football, no doubt about it. They won 15 games a year ago, right? But the amount of continuity, not just in the play calling perspective, but we talk about messaging to the team for all of Dan Campbell's tenure. Right. Like, so that's the part that I think is, as much as I think he's a very good coach and I think he's really slept on for how knowledgeable he is. You don't get to work with Sean Payton for as long as you did and not know anything about offense being a big dum-dum, right? That's just not going to be that's not going to mesh with Sean Payton. And I think some of it can be carried upon. Some of it can be a little bit of fun. And also They all come in different shapes and sizes in brilliant minds in the NFL. So I think he's a really good coach, but I do think there's going to be a feeling out process with the coordinators, the players, the quarterback. And I'll tell you this, I like Green Bay in week 1 if, and this is the massive if, which is going to be a big part of it.
Yeah.
You got to be able to get Jared Goff off his spot at some particular point in the game. And I think their run defense is what potentially gets him off his spot, because they can do a little bit of containing that two-headed monster of Montgomery and Gibbs.
The thing, too, is, I mean, that's kind of what transpired a couple years ago on Thanksgiving when they had the big upset, right? They did get Goff off the spot. They caused fumbles, right? They intercepted him. And look, they intercepted him last year, but it was after they had fallen behind. That's been well talked about. But, yeah, I'm with you in the sense that it's a lot of new for the Lions, but Campbell is the constant, right? And, man, he has had Matt LaFleur's number. I don't care who's coordinating the offense or the defense. I mean, you talk about a style of play. The Detroit Lions have a style of play. And I know there are Packers fans who decry it, who say it's borderline dirty or whatever. I think it's just good, hard-nosed football. And I think whether it's been in Green Bay, whether it's been in Detroit, this is a team under Dan Campbell that has almost every single game been the more physical team. And I don't think that means the Packers have to change the way they play the Lions, but I think they do have to play a clean freaking game against this team to have a chance, because we saw it last year. We saw it against multiple opponents, but certainly against Detroit in both games. You can't give this offense, you can't give this quarterback extra shots to put up points on you. And I am fascinated to see, because you talk about Goff, man, Ben Johnson got the ball out of his hands so quickly, so often. It becomes hard to get the quarterback off his spot when he's throwing it at the line of scrimmage immediately after receiving the snap, you know? But, yeah, if they can get into some second, third, and longs, pin their ears back a little bit, which hopefully at home they're able to do, yeah, I do like the Packers in this game, mostly for the reasons you're stating. Like, it's a lot of new in Detroit, but I don't think this is an easy game by any stretch.
No, I mean, there's a reason why the NFL wanted this number 1. There's a reason why Fox would have wanted, or CBS, pardon me.
Yeah,
I could take some getting used to that CBS gets to pick their the NFC game that they want.
Ridiculous, man.
But
what happened to the country I love, Billy?
Well, you got a wide receiver wearing 22, and I know a lot of people don't like it. But you also have Detroit as a favorite on the road, and like you mentioned, it's based in reality, because they have taken the Packers to the woodshed physicality wise for the majority of every single one of these contests. Packers got them on a couple of gotcha plays and took a fumble to the house. Like, that's how you get up on this team on the road and get after it. I also wanted to hear how you thought about it, because that Ben Johnson deal where you start taking a slap in the mouth to Matt LaFleur in your first introductory statement.
Interesting, right? Yeah.
That comes from somewhere. And I wonder how much of that came from how they view Matt and potentially this Packers team in Detroit.
Yeah.
We slap them around. Like, we have fun taking them out, because they used it as a massive battle cry and a huge sign of disrespect when, 15-9, when Aaron said we can't be losing that game to that team in 2022.
Oh man, they glommed onto that quote real quick.
Yeah. Yep, so I wonder how much of that is they take pride in winning every game. Everyone does in the NFL. But it does seem like they take an immense amount of enjoyment in beating the Green Bay Packers.
Couldn't agree more. And that's why I say, like, to your point, I think it's good that we've got this right out of the gate, right? Finally, I mean, can we please just get to halftime of this game without the Packers being down multiple scores? Like, that's a victory. That'll be a victory in and of itself, because, again, Detroit's come in and just whooped up on the Packers physically since Campbell's arrived. Like, whether they've won or lost, which they've won most of them. But, man, they have just owned the line of scrimmage, to our point at the beginning of this video. Like, they have owned the line of scrimmage in these games, and that has to change right out of the gate in this first game.
And I'm also excited to see who's going to own the stands.
Here we go.
Very happy that this is the home opener. Right. Very happy that this is not a gold package game, because I'm excited. Listen, I'm excited to see how much Honolulu Blue invades in there, and how much also nags some of these Yeah. Buddy in California that definitely thought he was going to get a lot more support online than he did. About
Holy
potentially
cow,
losing your season tickets, right? Like,
that
I wonder how
article
much
was
that changes.
wild. Man, we could do a whole other. We will
whole
do.
other
We should
podcast.
do a whole other video. Wow, Billy, I got thoughts, man. I
A
got
lot
some
of them. Yeah.
thoughts. But yeah, no, I am fascinated to see what that looks like because Detroit has represented very, very well.
Big time.
You
As they
can't
should.
play
Their
on both.
team's good now, finally,
Yes,
again.
exactly.
Right?
Well,
Like,
of course you're traveling. Of course you're
when-
buying. Like, yeah, naturally.
You're going to go and enjoy. And it's been an enjoyable trip. It's been a very enjoyable trip for them. So you got to make it a little bit more miserable. Like, of course, Cubs fans are going to come up and invade the Brewer Stadium whenever they're good because it's an enjoyable trip. You got to make it bad by beating them.
So yeah, naturally, we've both got W's.
That's 1-0, baby.
The good guys,
yeah,
right?
that's 1-0. Yes,
we're both here. That's good.
And we're avoiding what
so
already Armin Sarian is nervous about, and he's voiced a couple of times.
What?
Well, it's only like 11% of teams make the playoffs if you start the season 0-2. Are you
God.
nervous?
That was the most ridiculous stuff ever. The Giants were 0-2 and then beat the undefeated Patriots in the Super Bowl. I mean, I don't care.
Game over.
Get to the dance. That's all that matters. So we got the Packers starting out 1-0, as they should.
Yes.
Home opener. But then
the
quick turnaround, the Thursday night Amazon Prime game on September 11th. A mere, 4 days later. That is wild to me. And I understand that someone's got to do it, right? That first Thursday game has to be someone. But man, that is the only thing that makes it palpable for me is the fact that it's at home. They get to stay at home. Like, I thank goodness. Because could you imagine
a big win.
Having that first game and then having to do a short week on the road? No, thank you.
Yeah, it's I love it for them being at home. And now from the storyline perspective, and again, get into a little bit of the storyline spot. Yeah. NFL's not putting this in there if they don't think Jaden Daniels, Jordan Love is going to be a part of a marquee for quite some time in the NFC.
This is building a hopeful, like, in their mind, to your point, guys are going to see the playoffs probably for years to come. That's hope, right?
And that's who you want to put first out in front of with Herbie and Al Michaels on Amazon Prime. So I like that. I like that part of it. You're exactly right. At home is huge. From also the understanding of the two teams, there's not many more people that Matt LaFleur speaks more highly of than Dan Quinn.
100%.
Cliff Kingsbury is kind of adjacent to that Shanahan, McVay deal. So there's some good familiarity and some good friendship, kinship there, which I do enjoy watching Dan Quinn coach ball clubs. So that's going to be a fantastic game to witness.
And I think you just said it, familiarity. I think that's a big key here for both these teams, but certainly Matt LaFleur knows Dan Quinn like really well and knows his tendencies and his style and what he likes to do in situational ball, etc. But look, that's one side of the thing, obviously, but on the other, to me, this whole game is about Halfley versus, you mentioned Kingsbury, but obviously the quarterback, right?
This
kid was outstanding last year. Certainly went on a just an incredible run. But man, we saw how C.J. Stroud was the toast of the league 2 years ago, and that all came crashing down last year. And I'm not expecting that from Daniels and the Commanders. I do think he is as advertised. I think he is that good, right? But I am fascinated to see what Halfley cooks up to try and keep him hemmed in. Obviously, you need to contain that pocket. He is deadly with his legs, but not just because he can run and still deliver the football pretty much anywhere from any point behind the line of scrimmage. Like, that is, you talk about an early test as far as making sure that you are on your keys, sticking plaster downfield, making sure those guys have disciplined rush lanes, because man, he can hurt you and make you look silly real quick.
And also look at what Adam Peters, who is underratedly one of the better GMs quickly already in pro football, and maybe watch what happens in San Francisco over the next couple of years. Just saying, like you see a guy who identifies what they want to be about, and then goes and grabs more of it. Like, okay, Terry McLaurin is the kind of guy that you want to build a football team around.
Absolutely.
That can be a captain who could handle Deebo Samuel walking into his wide receiver room and feel very confident and comfortable, and also feel better about the football team after it happens. And they get him for like a 5th round pick. They got Laramie Tunzel this offseason. Now,
Yep.
Tunzel's had his penalty problems. Don't get it wrong.
Yeah.
He's
Very inconsistent year last year.
Very inconsistent, but he's still one of the best guys at that position when it comes down to one-on-one situations.
Right.
And I love what they did in the offseason. I love what the Commanders did. I think they're a potential rocket ship if he stays healthy. And that's a big if. It's always going to be an if when somebody plays with more fire outside of the pocket. And I don't know many
with that,
others do.
Don't call a spade, man. That kid's got a wiry ass frame. Right. And
doesn't he look like he takes bigger shots? He looks like he takes bigger shots. And this is somebody that there's a lot of games, Nags, that I'm excited to watch. The second to last game at home, the last home game is one that just as a football fan, I cannot wait for.
Hell yes.
But you watch Lamar, and I don't know that I've ever seen him get blown up.
He doesn't take shots.
No, I feel like absolutely. I watched Jaden Daniels get split in half once a game. So, that's right. The nervous part for me. But it is going to be fun to watch Edgerrin Cooper and Quay Walker try to run around the field and contain him, as well as whatever they're going to put together the rest of that offense. I mean, Samuel, McLaurin on the outside. I like what they did. I like what they have, and it's going to be a fantastic game. I think it's going to be a high-scoring one, too.
I do, too. I think the Packers get this one simply because A, short week, and B, they're not the ones having to travel. I think if it's reversed, it's probably the Commanders' game to take. But I think the Packers start 2-0. But to your point, I think this is high scoring, no doubt.
Yeah, I got the Packers winning it as well. 2-0 start is going to be incredible win in the sales like it was last year. What it should have been last year. Like just an amazing feeling.
Love it. And then the Packers go on the road for a nooner at Cleveland. And man, Cleveland is so it's funny because they can be easily dismissed because they have been so bad for so long and such a kind of tire fire of an organization. I mean, the whole Watson thing is such a pall over the organization. And now they're dealing with the whole stadium thing. And it's like, all of that said, I think they got a ton of talent and I think they got a really good coach.
Mm-hmm.
And you're at their place. This is going to be, especially on offense, it's going to be a tough game for the Packers. It's going to be a tough game.
Well, and doesn't it just already feel like a BYOJ game? You got to bring your own juice. But the thing is, that place is always rocking. Like it's as you mentioned, spot. It's their place. It's a rabid fan base. They love their brownies. They love beating people that underestimate them, which is another massive part of it. And yeah, I'm with you. I think their team's better than people are going to give it credit for. Right? Like you're just going to immediately dismiss it because, okay, are we facing a Joe Flacco skeletal remains? I was just going to say,
we have no idea what they're going to be doing at quarterback. Like who's going to be starting?
But I do know what. But
are they still going to be starting week 3? Right. Yes.
Yeah. 100%. They're going to run the ball, and you have to. Somebody's got to block Myles Garrett, and you got to be able to score points on their defense. And just feels like a game that's going to be somehow a 1-score game at the end of it.
Yeah, it sounds weird to say, but I'm with you. What's the line on this game?
Packers laying 5.5 at the moment.
Really? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. So just under the full 6. I got the Packers winning, but I think that number, if you like the Packers now, jump on it. Because I think to your point, listen, the Packers start 2-0 and they beat Jaden Daniels and they beat the Detroit Lions.
Right.
Like that number could be 7.5, 8.5 walking in there, especially because the Browns checked have 2 division games before this, right? They play the Bengals at home in their season opener, and then they go to Baltimore. So you're talking about a wounded animal walking in there potentially if they're 0-2, or a lot of excitement if they've upset one of those 2 teams. And if you get the Bengals week 1, you're going to get a win, basically. That's generally what it seems like.
It does tend to play out,
especially if you're an ass team. That's what has generally happened over the last couple of years.
Well,
I apologize.
Like I said, the Browns will give them hell, but I'm with you. I think the Packers pull it out in a very close one. I think this is comes down to the wire kind of thing. Maybe not the overtime run into the tunnel like the last time they were there with Devontae riding off into the sunset for the victory in overtime. But
hopefully Jordan plays better than Brett.
Than Hundley. That's the absolute hope, no doubt about it. But yeah, give me starting 3-0 and then a trip down to Jerry World for Sunday Night Football. I mean, do we really need to talk about this game because it's the Packers home away from home? I understand everything going on with Dallas, all the drama around their quarterback. And certainly every single offseason, it seems we get nothing but Dallas updates when they do so very little to actually kind of add to their team outside of drafting some people. Yes, they made the trade for Pickens, and they're all very excited about that right now. But who knows if he's, if his head's in the game at this point? Who knows? It's a month into the season. Anything could happen. But I think this is going to be a classic Packers go in and take care of business game. I really do. I don't see, this being anything other than the Packers winning by 10 points.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about. And just imagine the immense confidence that's going to be rolling in here. If you're 3-0,
hell yeah,
and you get to go to Jerry World. And Aaron Nagler said last week on No BS on the game that this was your premier destination for the road trip because of what you just laid out. How could it not be? How would you not want to go and watch the Packers beat the Cowboys in a spot that they don't lose? So I'm with you. I also don't think the Cowboys improved their team all that much. All they did was add a lot more storylines. And
this is what they do. Right.
I'm a huge Dak Prescott fan.
I love Dak.
Love watching him. Yes. Love the way he plays.
He's most NFL fans criminally underrate him.
Yeah, and he's also for a reason unbeknownst to me, is somehow always controversial, being maybe like the least controversial human being around. So that's what comes with the territory, though, right? And they bring a lot of that upon themselves.
Welcome. Yes. So yeah, I've got the W here. What do you got?
I got W as well. 4-0 going into the bye next. I mean,
go see,
just come on, tables galore, 6 to midnight across the state of Wisconsin and his fan base. It's gonna be insane. They roll in there 4-0.
But 4-0, and we got a time to kind of reset, recalibrate, maybe take care of some issues that may be popping up through these wins. And as Matt LaFleur always says, better to learn things from a win than a loss, right? You'd much rather do that. The Packers have plenty of wins here. Now, they're back after the bye, hosting the Cincinnati Bengals in the late afternoon window on CBS. And I gotta admit, Billy, this is it for me. I think this is where they catch their first L.
This is where you see it?
Yep. I think the firepower, Joe Burrow, I think it's a shootout, but I think the Bengals take this one.
Is this the Trey Hendrickson revenge game?
Oh, God, I hope so. I don't think so, but I hope so.
If it is the Trey Hendrickson revenge game,
well, then the Packers
give me the Packers, because then he is going to sack Burrow in a gotta have it 31-27 moment with the Bengals driving down inside the red zone. Again, I think this is a great shootout, but I'm with you on this one. This is also why the Jair Alexander conversation is as much of a conversation to me is.
Yes.
Who guards Jamar Chase? Who guards T. Higgins? Who does Carrington Valentine draw? Right? Like, how do you move certain guys around? And listen, if you want to be CB1, go out there and lock up Jamar Chase. Many have tried.
Well,
many have tried. Keyshawn Nixon, good luck. No one's going to do it.
They're not going to play no defense that asks anyone to man up with Chase. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be a lot of bracket coverage. It's going to be a lot of rolling coverage out of zone. Like, they ain't going to be doing even if they do 2-man, they're still going to have that safety over the top. Like, there is no way they ask. But you better believe, guys, even Jair, no way they ask him to go and just be on an island. No
the bad thing is, though, if you do it one play,
Joe's
going to find him on that one play. He's going to find him on that one. He's going to find him on that one play because
seemingly every Bengals
only wants it. Yes,
right. It happens almost every time you watch these guys play. So, yeah, if the Packers pull off a miracle and trade for Hendrickson, yeah, sure, they'll get this W. But I don't see that happening. I do see the Packers taking the L here.
But it comes down to how good do you think the Packers offense is, because the Bengals defense can't stop a nosebleed. Didn't last year.
Couldn't last year. Got a new coordinator now.
Yeah.
Added TJ Slayton, so they're going to be able to stop the run.
Sweet. I do think this is one of those games in which it's kind of a who's got the ball last.
Yeah, I feel that.
And that's
the Bengals
also
seem to win those games.
That's exactly it. That was exactly my point, because of who he is, because of Joe Burrow. Like, he's that good. And I think in that kind of a moment, those are the ones that he rises to. And also, this is in October. So they suck for the first 3 or 4 weeks, and then they start to get themselves back into
together.
The race. I think this
Absolutely.
might be it.
It's just the Bengals. They're hilarious. They won't pay their proven guy, and now they're like haggling with their first round pick. Like, it's always the Bengals, man. They're hilarious. They are hilarious.
You can't be surprised, dude. It's the team that sold televisions from the concourse.
For Frugality. Look it up
we
in the dictionary. You'll see the Bengals. It's
talked
hilarious.
about it though. That Shamar Stewart situation's hilarious. Like
It
I
is.
don't know.
I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, I say it's unbelievable, but it's totally believable because
Yeah.
it's the Bengals.
Well, especially and also if you listen to the messaging around Stewart going out of the pre-draft process, as they like to say, it was sounded like there were some flags.
Some flags.
And they weren't
Potential
generally
flags.
potentially yellow. No.
Yeah.
But hey, we'll
Not
see
our
if
problem.
we can. Not our problem.
Not our
And
problem.
if they can have both of their defensive ends out and their first round pick and Trey Hendrickson at that moment, then I'm definitely taking the Packers. But I got it at 4-1 after this one.
4-1, traveling to the desert to take on the Arizona Cardinals again, late afternoon window. This time on Fox. Man, it's hard for me to get a handle on this team, and I do think there's talent here. Obviously, I think they took care of the Cardinals last year in Lambeau.
Mm-hmm.
I get it's on the road. I think they're a inconsistently good team. Like they have talent and they can hurt you on both sides of the ball. But man, their coach is so conservative. Gannon just like anytime that's always the way with these defensive coaches, right?
Yeah.
Like
You're
anytime there's a chance to take control of a football game by taking a chance, he will almost to a fault, kind of shy away from that moment. And because of that, I think the Packers get the win down there.
That's a really deep analysis, which I like because I do like. Oh no, because I like him as a coach. But you're right. There are moments in which you need to be a little bit more aggressive.
It's that quintessential change from being the coordinator to being the head guy.
Yes,
and it's like it filters through your entire program. And I can't tell you last year how many times I watched Cardinals games where it's like, oh, just take a chance, man. 4th down, I get it.
That one of the more dynamic players in football too. Like, and people are hot and cold on Kyler. I'm generally always more positive than negative on Kyler Murray. I think he's a tremendous player, and he's played well in the NFL. Has he been the cheat code that he was at Oklahoma? No one was gonna be coming out of a Lincoln Riley offense, but I think he's a lot better player than people will give him credit for. I just don't think their roster is all that great, right? Like I just don't. You're right. They're sneakily good because I think
they got a really talented now going to be a second-year wide receiver, right? Like they've got pieces. And I really like when Kyler throws it to Trey McBride because I got him in my dynasty fantasy league team, and that dude is a savage. So yeah, I'm with you. They got nice pieces. I do like the Packers to go out there and win this one because this is also this is a West Coast. This is a Packer backer West Coast moment where that place is going to be very green and gold. Green and gold, yes, sir. Probably including our very own Tyler Herrick, I would suspect would be there.
I would hope so. Yes, I'd be disappointed with him if he wasn't.
So we got the Packers at 5-1 heading into another road matchup with the Pittsburgh Steelers, another Sunday night football contest on the road in Pittsburgh. Obviously, the humongous elephant in the room, the question that looms over this contest for seemingly forever. Is Aaron Rodgers going to be quarterbacking the Steelers?
I'm actually leaning more no now. Like the longer it goes, I'm leaning more towards he might be retired. The bad news is, Nags, and you're going to be potentially perplexed by this. I think the Packers lose the game either way. Like that's a spot that is generally always, especially a night game.
They haven't done it since God. What has it been? It's been like since the 60s or some shit since they've won.
One of the toughest places to play in football. Always is, always has been, always will be. Doesn't matter to me if it's Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer quarterbacking these Pittsburgh Steelers. I do. I like them a lot. I like the Steelers probably more than other people do.
Right.
And also, I just Renegade hitting at about 10, 11 o'clock Eastern time is a difficult beast there at night on a Sunday night. Mike Tirico, Collinsworth in the booth. This guy, Mike Tomlin, here's a guy that comes in each week, and you know what you're going to get with their football team. They're going to come in here and play. And now they don't have Patrick Mahomes, right? But like they got guys that are going to play football.
Mentioned, right?
Got to slide him in there, right? Got to slide him in there. So I got to work on the Collinsworth a little bit.
Right.
But I do think this is a end of October moment where you're like, damn, lost 2 or 3, but they're both out of conference. which we like a lot more come tiebreaker time.
So we're talking what now? The Packers are sitting at 5-2 at this point.
5-2 going into the much anticipated matchup against the Carolina Panthers.
The much anticipated.
Why you laugh?
The ballyhooed showdown.
I just like that it was one of the only. It was like the only game that leaked out. I'm like, well, shit. Who wasn't waiting for that Panthers game?
I mean,
like,
everybody.
You wanted to find a game where your buddy who's getting married next year said, "I want to take the whole bachelor party to a Packers game. That's what I want. I don't want to go to Vegas. I don't want to go to Austin. I don't want to go to Nashville. I want to go to Lambeau and I want to tailgate." They're like, "All right, sweet. Which tickets can we get?" Packers, Panthers. Sweet. They might pay us to go to that game. Dynamite. That is going to be a fun noon boom. Yes. I would anticipate a fruitful night at maybe Kay Adams' most mentioned establishment in the Green Bay area.
Outstanding. Wow, you got all sorts of stuff working on this one other than the actual game itself and the people on the field. I mean, look.
Sorry, go back to the Steelers. I apologize. I got too excited with my promo.
Steelers, that's the L.
That is okay. All right, we're unanimous. We dunked with it 5-2. Got it.
We're
okay.
5-2.
Thank you. Yep.
The Panthers, though, man, look, Young was figuring it out last year. After he got that time on the bench and then came back, I mean, if he had a wide receiver who could catch, they beat the Eagles. You know what I mean? Like that last drive against the Eagles was so impressive. And from that moment on, the whole end of that season last year, I thought, damn, this is the kid figuring it out.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. This is nowhere near the easy W that I think maybe some folks are anticipating. I do think the Packers get a victory, but I think it's like, again, a nail biter. I think this is a young coach in Carolina who
I'm a big fan of.
A big fan, and a young quarterback who, like I said, is figuring it out. Yeah, man, I don't know. It's always a good matchup with LaFleur and any kind of young up-and-coming coach. And I think this is going to be an unexpectedly fun game, but I do have the Packers winning.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Now, I do like what they've done in terms of supporting Young with like players that are going to be legit. I think Leggett is a really, really talented dude that needed a year and a half to learn the NFL and feel comfortable in his own skin. The kid from South Carolina that they took last year at 32nd. Then they also add McMillan, who I was very, very high on. I think he's a layup throw to him. And you get a small guy, two big receivers.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Then one dude that you talk about your draft crushes later on into the draft, like 6th, 7th round undrafted dudes. Jimmy Horn Jr. was one of those. Like somebody is going to get a player who knows how to play and can return. Like I do really like their squad at some particular point. I think the Packers win the game, but I'm with you. I think the Panthers are one of those teams that nobody is going to think about. And also you're like, wait a second, they're 6-5. Like, wow. Okay. Wow. I did not anticipate this. They're going to be in the hunt column longer than people have been accustomed to seeing them in the last number of years.
Very much agreed. I thought they were playing very well as a unit, like the whole team down the stretch, not just the quarterback. They had the makings of a team that was figuring it out, a young team, young coach figuring it out. They're not going to figure it out this November 2nd. Against the Green Bay Packers.
Because I mean, even after this would be as the Packers are 7.5-point favorites at ESPN Bet earlier, not nearly as good of a sportsbook as the Potawatomi sportsbook, but I will say Carolina like first quarter spread or like first half spread. I think it's tight, as my man Lee Corso would say, closer than the experts think. Tighter early, and then the Packers tack on late to win the game, pull away.
Totally agree. So now we're sitting at what, 6-2?
This is a nice start.
And the champ is here. The champ is here. The Philadelphia Eagles come on in. Now, it's a Monday nighter, so the Packers get that extra day, which I'm all about. But, man, the Eagles, let's call a spade a spade. They controlled things pretty much both times they faced the Packers last year because of the line of scrimmage, because of the work up front. Hard for me to see much of a change. I mean, I know we've added Aaron Banks up front, so maybe, hopefully, something changes in that regard as far as
there's no Travis Water snaps there.
There are. That's true. That's the hope, right? That's the dream. So yeah, I mean, I know Josh Jacobs just said a couple days ago, like we gave him a better shot than anybody else, and that is true, right? Especially in that playoff run. But man, I don't know. It's going to be real hard for me to pick the Packers in this game.
So I'm picking the Packers in this game for a lot of what you just mentioned. However,
right,
the one reason why it is difficult is to know what is happening right now in Minneapolis with the owners meeting and the
push.
real hatred that organization is going to have for the Packers going into there. So like when you start trying to spotlight games that are bigger for one team than the other one,
maybe
like this should be a bigger game for the Packers, right? It should be a bigger game for the Packers. They got beat by them twice last year. They ended your season. I think they're coming in chapped for that matchup. And I did say I was taking the Packers, and I flip it over. I'm taking the Eagles because of that exact deal. Like that disdain that they're going to have there.
Right.
I think this is one where Howie Roseman, I don't think, talks to the football team very often.
But this time he does.
They're going to let somebody in the week and say, these came in and tried to change how about we just quarterback sneak first play. I heard Chris Sims joke about that with LaFleur.
LaFleur, right.
They might do it first play. They might do it four times.
They might do it on second and third down just to do it.
Yeah, just to do it. Just to try to shove it up. And I think it's going to be fascinating.
Here's the thing. I would do that, right? But I'm not an NFL head coach, and they are traditionally not as petty as fans are. Although, Sirianni,
have you watched this one?
Sirianni might be.
Thank you. Yeah,
I do love that Matt kind of put it out there that they sit next to each other at the owners' meetings.
That was awesome. That was awesome.
How great is that?
So I'm sitting next to Howie Roseman while they're just dunking on it. Like,
oh god, it's so good.
It's an uncomfortable 10 hours.
That's got to be amazing. But that's as we record right now, they're in the ownership is in Minneapolis talking about this very thing. So yeah, I think the Packers catch this L. Unfortunately, doesn't mean that the Packers can't turn around and find them in the playoffs and beat them then. But I think in this game in particular, and also, Billy, one major component of this showdown that we haven't even discussed yet is that it is the second of the gold package games. That Milwaukee crowd on a Monday night. Going to be interesting to see how much Eagle Green is in the crowd.
The second weekday night game for the gold package.
Tough roads, man.
That's a tough deal. Now, I would say this schedule in particular for the pear-shaped youth that Bill Schmid was when the schedule came out, dude, heaven. The best. Because the group that we would go to games with, right? My dad's had tickets with a bunch of family members since my uncle had them at a bar when the games were at County Stadium, right? And it's the same group of people that go. And it's one of those things that when you start digging into who you're going to start taking tickets from, when you start seeing like, is that guy the title holder? Is that the one that's walking in? Look at the same people walking in with those same tickets every once in a while. Just facial recognition that shit, and remember that there's different ways that people get tickets. However, in this beast, Nags, we'd stay over both times. So I was getting Billy was getting pulled out of third grade.
No chance of going to school the next day. Absolutely not.
No, but I was probably going early. I was probably going early on Monday with just a full of confidence. I mean, that you weren't telling me anything, Aaron, that whole day. I was not doing an assignment. I was talking mess all day. I was talking during whenever the teacher was talking. I was an asshole that day. I got to do that twice and then miss the next day of school, one of which into a long weekend.
What a life.
Your boy was having a lot of fun there. That's a big time schedule for young third grade Billy at those games.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, now it's a big game for people to sell their tickets and have
but maybe not. Maybe there's somebody's birthday is the weekend before in the family, and they're going to get the tickets for that one. So you never know. Never know.
Let's hope.
Get it to the young people in the family. They enjoy Monday night games.
Packers sitting at now after this contest at 6-3. Are we at now? Yes, right.
That's what we got. Yes, 6-3.
So
Philadelphia also a road favorite in this game. Just
not a surprise. And then the Packers turn around and come to my neck of the woods to take on the New York Giants, a nooner at Fox. And what's nice now is that Packers have 1, 2, 3, 4 games in a row now after this Eagles contest, all nooners.
Yeah,
which
they
can be flexed, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But
Post-game show loves that.
Loving me some noon kickoffs, no question about it. And here in New York against the Giants, against a coach, pretty much it's win or go home time for everyone, front office, coaching staff, etc. Giants got a lot of talent. They had a really good draft last year. I don't know about their draft this year, but man, it's all about, can they get any kind of stable play from the quarterback position? I just, I know we saw and witnessed what we witnessed when they came in here full of confidence and lost to Tommy DeVito a couple years ago. So I'm not saying this like to jinx it or lightly. I think they handle the Giants. I think they come in, they take care of business. It's a road business trip, and they come out of this game at 7-3.
So depends on if one of my flaming hot takes of the year has legs.
All right.
On November 16th. Depends on how the outcome of this goes.
Okay.
My hottest take of the NFL season is that the Giants make the playoffs.
Holy Toledo.
I think they have the best front four in football outside of the team that the Packers play 6 days before.
Yeah, that's pretty
and
damn
maybe they're potentially they have the best 3 technique in football in Dexter Lawrence. Yep. They got 3 guys in Burns, Thibodeau, and now Abdul Carter that at any point will win most, if not all, one-on-one matchups. You've got to be trying to chip, slide. They'll wreck you up front.
Yep.
And you mentioned what they get from the quarterback spot. What is Russell Wilson given the last 2 teams in the last 2 years that he's played? Like legit, slightly above average quarterback play. Has it been what he was when he was in Seattle? Absolutely not.
No.
But he's also not aided by one of the best defenses of this generation in Seattle. Right. He doesn't have a Hall of Famer that he's handing the football off to. And Doug Baldwin, who caught every ridiculous pass of all time, right? Like, so you didn't have some of those trademarks. You have one of the most exciting wide receivers in football last year. While John Mara did not sleep last year. A lot of insomnia for that individual. Right. They had a rookie 1,000-yard back, if anybody was watching. Mm-hmm. And they had a ridiculous amount of injuries up front, including their left tackle, Andrew Thomas. So they're plus 950 right now to make the playoffs, and I've invested. It's one of my weirdest takes, one of which that I will absolutely get clowned for at some particular point during the season. But if they're in the mix here, I think the Packers split the 2 games. They either win against Philadelphia, and they're walking in with a full of confidence in New York and get caught, or they lose to Philadelphia on Monday night. And we got to right the ship here.
It refocuses you. Right. I see it. Yeah. I see it. I mean, the Russell thing is right. I mean, the Wilson, all you saw last year. I mean, that whole offense was just like, we're going to run. And then every once in a while, Russell Wilson's going to throw a lollipop rainbow to
Pickens
at that time, to Pickens, now to be to neighbors, whatever. It's like, I could see it working. I definitely could. I still think the Packers are more than capable of taking this one.
Yeah, and I also think Daboll's good. Like, I think he's
I do too. I think he's
real
a good coach.
And I think this is where you start looking into, right, like who teams are at different points in time. If indeed he's dead man walking at this point, Packers win 34-13.
Right.
If
they've shut it down, if they're making
because you can be in pack it in mode by Veterans Day, right? Sure. Like you can be in the mode where this thing is going to be over close to Thanksgiving, and you saw one for the team down in Chicago, and it can be a deciding time. They want Daboll to develop the next quarterback. They need to be somewhat competent this year, and I think they're going to be better than people anticipate. I also think the Cowboys, as we mentioned, that division might be terrible. So there's a lot of interesting stuff there. We are going 7-3, however.
There you go. 7-3. Coming back to Lambeau. And now here it begins. The beating up of the NFC North. Everyone just starting to take each other apart. The Packers begin by hosting the Minnesota Vikings, another nooner. I got to admit, man, I want to take the Packers in this game, but it's real hard. Having just gone back and watched the Vikings games from last week, man, I tell you what, both of these coaches, whether it's O'Connell or it's the defensive coaching staff for the Vikings, they got something for the Packers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's real hard for me, but the one kind of obvious, kind of looming question for the Vikings is that quarterback. And it's just, obviously we have to wait and see what transpires over the course of this season. But sitting here in May, I ain't worried about J.J. McCarthy. I mean, sure, he might come in and might be serviceable. Hell, he might be
Mhm.
good to great. I don't know. But sitting here right now in May, I think the Packers can handle it. And I think they get this victory. And I don't doubt for a moment that this is going to be another classic crazy game. I don't see it like last year where they fell way behind and then
Mhm.
furiously tried to come back. I think it's a little more put together than that. But um, I do find it interesting that they wait this long into, I mean, we are in week 12 before seeing the Vikings. Like that to me, I think overall is a good thing, but it does mean that we're like, we got to wait a long time to get a look at this team. And, you know, I don't doubt for a moment that injuries always play a part. They will certainly play a part here. But I do think Jordan Love, if he's relatively healthy, etc. We saw him last year against the Vikings really kind of struggle in his return from injury. That he
Mhm.
admitted he probably came
Yep.
back early. I think you get a Jordan Love who's right in Lambeau against this team, be able to use his cadence, Matt LaFleur with a good game plan. This is a Packers victory.
So this was before I looked, guess the spread game, and I thought like 1.5, right? 1.5,
Yeah,
2 inside of
divisional
field goal.
opponent, right.
Packers minus 3.5. So shows at
There
least
you
a
go.
little bit that, I
No.
mean, there's a more of an idea that this team is better on paper than Minnesota. And then there's the answer of quarterback that nobody has. I think JJ's okay, right? I think he's good. I think he's okay. I think he's
Yeah,
fine. I think the head coach is phenomenal. It's one of the
yeah, we've
reasons why
talked
I was
about it. Yep.
actively campaigning for him to take any other job than re-signing an extension in Minnesota. They have something that the Packers are going to always struggle with. And it's the same reason why I think you and I both thought the Cincinnati matchup is the most difficult part. I think they got two legit guys who can be number one wide receivers. They have the best in
Yep.
football, maybe. And Jordan Addison, who is
No
awesome,
slouch.
who's awesome and
Yeah.
kills the Packers. So, like,
Yep.
I think it's a close game. I'm interested to hear what you think on their defense. Like, sorry, Harrison Smith can't be amazing forever, right? Like, they can't have. I don't believe they're going to have the same magic juice of turning the football over like they did a year ago, where
Well, and that's a big
every
component,
single
right?
game it felt like they were getting two gift wrap
A
to
fumble
them.
recovery, a pick six, like especially those kind of passes in the flat that Van Ginkel like jumps and yeah, is that sustainable? I doubt it. But they create chaos. Like
They
on
do. Yep.
defense, they just create chaos, whether it's physical or mental. Like they do a very good job of it. But that's why I think like Jordan being right makes all the difference here.
Mm-hmm.
And look, the Packers have added, by this point in the season, I'm very excited to think about Matthew Golden 10 games, 11 games into his NFL career because I
Yeah.
do think
Same.
it's going to be slow going at first. But by this point in the season, yeah, maybe this is the Golden coming out party. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
I've,
I am down with that.
Yeah, and this would be around the time that it was the Christian Watson coming out party, right?
Correct.
Right around
Yep.
this time for the Dallas game. And I'm
That
with you. I
Dallas
think there's
game,
going to
yep.
be a couple of I think Matthew Golden game script the exact same way they did with Watt. Like they're going to send a play action deep ball to that young man within his first 10 snaps in the NFL.
I
And
hope
you're
so.
going to and if the 22, if that ball nestles right in between that 22, Packers Pro Shop's going to sell a lot of them. And he has the makings to be the guy that we've been waiting for. I'm right there with you. I do think though, and I'm curious to see because we're sickos. We've definitely now both done the exact same thing.
Right.
I went back and watched more of the
I'm
Minnesota games
serious. It's
than I
so
care to admit over the last actually
so
2
ugly.
weeks.
Yeah.
Which one was worse to you?
You know
I
what? The
thought
one in Minnesota, only because
yes,
Jordan
same.
was so hampered coming into that game in Lambeau, right? Like
Mhm.
I understood everything that transpired in the first game. I was just pissed coming out of that second game because like they look no further than the first drive.
Yeah.
Like they're moving the ball, like, okay, here we go, game on. And then King Jacobs puts it on the carpet. They get an opportunity. It's like the same thing happened in Detroit, right? Oh,
Yep.
that fucking horn. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like Christian
Yep.
Watson fumbles the ball in Detroit last year. Like it's just they could not get out of their own way. So that game pissed me off way more
Yes.
than the first one. So
Wow. I just
that's the
in
one that really
lockstep.
sits in my
In
mind.
lockstep because we were down 28-0 in that first game, and you're like, put the kids to bed for a nap. Like, what are we doing? They turn on Red Zone here at the end. And all of a sudden it becomes a game in which at the end of it, I remember post game being like, you just watch this guy be awesome on one leg, trying to pull you back. You're going to be okay.
And by the way, if they have a kicker, they win that game.
At the end of it, it was they're not going to have an opportunity to have the signature win that you need to feel confident in a playoff game until week 1 of the playoffs. And that was, I'm with you. That was by far the more frustrating one. And then the late 2 touchdowns to pull it within a score. You're like, son of a... Every time you actually felt like in the movie, right when I think I'm out, they pull me back in. It was that being reincarnated. So like that, I'm with you there. The second to last game, the penultimate game of the year, is one that sticks in my craw almost more than the playoff game, which I still believe was very, very winnable.
Oh, I totally agree. But they
didn't deserve to win that playoff game. About it,
but they cough up the ball initially and give up that touchdown. You can quibble about the fumble, whatever, but then you get the injury to Elton and the cascading effect on the offensive line. Zach Tom playing his worst game of the year, and
it was potentially going to be worse going into the next week.
Yeah, no, that I'm not. I don't decry that one way anywhere as much as I do that Minnesota game.
I'm right there with you.
Drives me insane. But Packers coming out of this one 8-3, getting that win against the Vikings. And then they got a short week, Billy. Short week, traveling to Detroit, and this is the oft-discussed Thanksgiving matchup. You know where I stand on this. I hate this game. I hate this game with every fiber of my being. I understand they pulled off the big upset 2 years ago, and it was very exciting. And look, that's great. And if it happens again, I'm going to be incredibly excited. And in fact, me burrowing into the idea of how much I hate this game on this day, ruining my holiday, makes that occurrence when they do end up blowing them out or winning the game big time. That makes it sweeter for me. So I'm sticking with it. I hate playing this game. Vince Lombardi had it right. I don't want any part of this game. And I think the Packers are going to lose.
So I think the Packers lose as well. And it's one of my favorite games of the year. It's always been one of my favorite games of the year. It's the one road trip that I'm so mad that I still have not taken, is to be in Detroit on Thanksgiving.
I've done that when I was on the beat.
Yes.
I did it. And I'll tell you what, their spread was phenomenal.
I bet it was amazing.
Shout out Ford Field. Their spread was ridiculously good.
It's something that they take so much pride in, even when they were cheeks, playing better on Thanksgiving than any other game of the year. So it's one of the reasons why I love it. With the two teams being good, I think it's even better. You're talking to somebody that actually did not bet on the Packers and bet against the Packers 2 years ago when they went and won that game.
Amazing.
So, you want to talk about ruining your Thanksgiving? I should have been happy as all hell.
I'm incredibly elated.
I get back home and my wife's like, wow, wasn't that amazing? I knew they were going to win. I'm like, well, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you say something? We could have been in a much better situation.
Knew they were going to win.
I knew they were going to win. I just
called her up. Is like, we're going deep to Watson early. Tell your husband.
A good feeling. Yeah, I just had a good feeling about it. Well,
amazing.
Guess it didn't happen on the same side. So I think this is one of those that they lose. However, can be a game in which you feel okay out of the loss. I mean, right? You're 8-4.
Oh, one of those, man.
One of those where you put together a couple of moments. You're still neck and neck in the division, and you're going to sit back, watch the rest of the NFL throughout the last week, that next weekend, and realize team's good, right? Team is good.
Yeah.
The rest of the league is not blowing us away. Right. You lost the football game. You potentially lost 2 in a row, right? That Minnesota game, if indeed JJ McCarthy's awesome, that could be a coin flip.
It's a tough one, no doubt.
But I think you watch the rest of the league after that and say, man,
we're pretty good.
Could be in a lot worse. Could be in a lot worse spots. We're going to have a chance.
So now we're sitting, what, 8-4?
8-4.
8-4, going into the home matchup with the Chicago Bears. And Billy, I just need, there's few things I need in my life, but I need the Packers to win this game. I cannot deal with the Bears fans if they win this game. And if they get the satisfaction of saying, not only have they now won 2 in a row in Lambeau, but just winning 2 in a row in general. And I know we got the quick turnaround. We face them 2 weeks later, but I can't live in those 2 weeks. With
are you just Are you on the
Can't do it.
belief that Ben Johnson's going to be an awesome NFL head coach? Or
No.
Same. Okay.
No.
Then we're both coming from the same spot here. Last year they were aided, them being the Chicago Bears, on having a schedule which allowed them to watch Caleb Williams make a bunch of mistakes preseason or early in the season.
Early in the year.
Get ready for the ramp up period, right?
Yep.
Well, they started home against the Vikings on Monday Night Football and at the Lions, right? Then there's a nice cushiony spot with the Cowboys and Raiders in the mix there. All that to be said, going into this game, this makes me happy. At Baltimore, at Cincinnati, home against the Giants, again, who I think is going to be better. At Minnesota, home against the Steelers, potentially with Aaron Rodgers. At the Philadelphia Eagles on Black Friday.
That's right.
Then go
Friday
to Lambeau.
game.
So, I mean, they get bludgeoned coming into this game potentially. And they're still in the mix where, I mean, you want to talk about a bye week. They're saying like, damn, it'd be really, really nice to have a week off at one of these points. And instead they get a couple of days after getting kicked out of them by the Philadelphia Eagles. So I like the Packers. I like the Packers to win this game.
And Packers coming off their mini bye.
Yes.
10 days rest. I'll take it. Absolutely. Did you say the Steelers travel to the Bears this year?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God! Please, Aaron Rodgers. Please.
You want to talk about a game that I would?
Last thing I need in life is Rodgers in a Steelers uniform, scoring a touchdown, yelling, "I still own you."
Wouldn't that be amazing?
In Soldier Field.
That would be a game that I would travel to, pay for a ticket, wear the opponent's uniform, take all the shit that the Bears fans would like to do.
You talk about oxygen. I need that.
That'd be fun, dude. Yeah, you could inject that right into your veins, huh?
So Packers are sitting at 9-4.
Mm-hmm.
And now they have this, this little stretch here on the road, starting with the trip out west to Denver. Man, this is a good defense. And this is an offense with a young quarterback who was definitely figuring it out towards the end of last year. Billy, I ain't going to beat around the bush. I think the Packers take an L here. I think that defensive front in particular, the pass rush for the Broncos, that's going to be problematic on the road. Big time.
Yeah, it feels like also classic wind in the sails letdown spot, right? A little bit of a west coast, not a west coast, it's west of the Mississippi. But
right.
Like oh my God, we're going west. This is gonna be so tough.
Well, the LaFleur
Packers fans,
the LaFleur travel plans when it comes to heading west have not been great.
No, they have not been good. They have not been great. So I'm with you on this one, and I don't like Sean Payton at all.
I don't either.
But I
think he's a good coach.
But I think he's a good coach, and I'm with you. Their team was figuring it out. Bo Nix was figuring it out. Even though, I mean, going into the draft last year, I'm like, I watched this guy at Auburn. Like, there's no way this dude's gonna play in the NFL. And then back half of the season, you're like, oh, he's more than a competent. He's a legit NFL starting quarterback. And they got a couple of pieces that I really, really like. I think Harvey is a fantastic piece for them. Them getting Ingram up the middle, and Cortland Sutton's a legit number one wide receiver that teams would like to have.
And here's the thing: the kid, for all Peyton does to draw things up when it's breaking down, like, he's got legs for days, man. He can run you right out of the stadium. And
he kind of actually enjoys it. It's years. Like, he enjoys letting you know that he's got some wheels and then laughing on the way back. He's kind of a little bit of an asshole that way, but he seems like an awesome dude, but he's very subtly talking stuff while putting up good numbers.
Yeah. And I expect we'll see some of that when the Packers travel to Denver to leave being 9-5 now. Is that 9-5? 9-5. Now it's the trip down to Chicago on a bit of a short week, 1 day less, because it's a Saturday contest. Now they haven't decided whether it's 3:30 or 7:00, but it will be on Saturday, December 20th. I'm not going to beat around the bush here. I think the Packers get this one too. I think they sweep the Bears this year. I mean, Bears fans love to point to that victory in Lambeau last year, and that's great. But you were playing like a preseason squad, so I don't really put too much stock into that. And plus, I mean, Matt LaFleur and Rich Bisaccia snatched defeat from the jaws of victory there at the end of the game in Lambeau. So you eliminate all that, and I just think the Packers got this. No problem.
Yeah, this is a Rich Bisaccia revenge game. The amount of frustration that he had.
They call their own trick return. Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I'm with you. And this is, again, the spot where if you're high on Ben Johnson, people will say, well, the Bears are going to be 9-4 as well, or 9-5 coming into this game, and this is for a playoff spot. I think they're closer to 7-10, right? So like I think this is a spot where they're like, we got to keep our season alive, and you can just put them out of their misery. Yes. And the fourth quarter of Bears fans walking like the mile and a half to their
cars. Oh my God,
dude! And all the time that they had planned on chanting "Green Bay sucks" on the back end, and then the one guy's like, cheering and enjoying because his team just won, and people are like, I want to beat them.
And instead of chanting "Green Bay sucks," they're chanting "Sell the team."
Yes.
I can't wait.
Exactly right. Wait. And you want to talk about ruining your Christmas. Then you ruin the weekend that they thought they were going to have off and potentially have all of Sunday to be able to have their family Christmas ahead of the week. Nope. Can't do it, Bears fans. Sucks to suck.
Sucks to suck. And the Bears still do. And the Packers are sitting at 10-5, heading back home to take on the Baltimore Ravens. Now, this could potentially be kind of a regular week, or they might even get an extra day, because this game could be on Saturday or Sunday.
Yes.
So hopefully, maybe they get that 28th and then they get that extra day of rest, which would be lovely. But obviously, I mean, it's the Ravens. I think there's a decent chance that this game gets put into prime time, although it really depends on obviously how things shake out. But yeah, Lamar Jackson and Lambeau, sign me up, man. I do think this will be a tough one. I have a hard time picking the Packers in this game, Billy. If only because the Ravens have forever and a day owned the line of scrimmage in any football game they play. And until I see it from the Packers, it's hard for me to say, oh, yeah, the Packers got this. It's just hard.
So and I don't know which one and if it means anything, but the one check here, one spot says all other spots say TBD. One says Saturday the 27th for potentially on this game. And I'll tell you this, because I think they want this penciled in for what you just mentioned, this in primetime Saturday night. Like the Saturday night special of what this could be. I think there's a very good chance that they put Lamar, who knows, could be in the running to win his third MVP.
Another MVP.
At this point. Like he could be much into the crosshairs.
Jordan Love could be in contention for
They could be playing for pink slips, and they could bring the award right to midfield, kind of like they did Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen in the divisional round last year. I like the Packers in this one at this point. And this is to say, if their defense and their run defense is getting better at the end of the season like it did a year ago, this is a game where you're not going to eliminate the running game of Lamar Jackson and Eric Henry.
All right.
But you at least slow down to the point where there's a lot of third downs that Henry's off the field, right?
Yes.
Like that's beating the Ravens, is keeping him off the field on third downs, because that means they're not in third and manageable, third and short. So I like the Packers to win the game. It's also, if I check notes here, I feel like the only games outside of the Eagles that we've really had trepidation about, maybe one of the division games, the Thanksgiving one, we got them dropping a lot of games in the AFC, but having a lot of wins in the conference, which helps you come this time in playoffs.
I'll tell you what, your enthusiasm, your positivity, swaying me, and I think there's a big component that you just talked about regarding the improved run defense down the stretch. Try this on for size. So Nazir Stackhouse makes the team doesn't make the team coming out of camp, but is a practice squad member who gets brought up a couple of times over the course of like November, right? And then in December, he solidifies his spot on the team as one of the kind of pillars of their run defense, along with all the other guys, and they are hitting on all cylinders coming into this game when it comes to their work on the ground, and they do the job and they get the win. There you go.
It's hilarious that people would think that you and I talk about like what and how and who we love on the team all before this.
Right. We do.
I would have taken Stackhouse in the 5th round when I was So
he can't help you on third downs. You're just talking about right, getting Henry off the field on third downs. Like he is not a third down player, right? He is a first and second down player.
Yeah, that's what you got Carl Brooks for.
But he's a good football player.
Yes, and knows how to use his leverage, right? Yes. Like at some point you need guys that are going to star in their role, and I'm with you on Stackhouse. I loved that piece, and then to get both the Georgia boys at some point, like love it for the building and for the room. So yeah, I'm telling you, want to talk about wind in the sails. Hair on the back of my on my back just stood up when you laid that out for us on how Stackhouse finally ends up bringing himself to the squad and being a prominent player coming into postseason time.
That's what you like to see, right? Guys rising to the occasion.
Mm-hmm.
So the Packers take this one. A big primetime playoff preview.
What a moment. Saturday night. Yeah.
In front of the whole country. So what does that put? It puts us at 11-5. Is that right?
Yes. 11-5 going into Minneapolis for the final game of the year.
Final game of the year. New Year's has come and gone. It is, again, possible Saturday or Sunday matchup with the Vikings. I mean,
Vikings eliminated by this time or no?
Yeah, there's a chance, right? Certainly that's entirely possible. And I'm sure Vikings fans will be saying the exact same thing about the Packers, saying, "Oh, it's entirely possible the Packers
could be eliminated by here."
Yep, totally. But in our world right now, they're sitting with 5 losses on the year. So much depends on the playoff picture here. It's hard for me to definitively say, but I do suspect that if everyone's playing and it's they got to win or go home, etc., I think the Packers take an L here in Minnesota. That cast, the game we were just talking about earlier, as far as, man, they are a problem on defense for this offense and have been, and at home in particular, where they're able to kind of pin their ears back and get after it. The noise, trying to work up front on offense, etc. Man, with that aggressive blitzing defense, it's hard for me to pick the Packers in this one.
It's hard. I think it's a good game, regardless if the Vikings are eliminated at the time. Now, the interesting piece is for the Minnesota Vikings this year, 17 games played last year for one individual. You know who I'm talking about?
No.
Aaron Jones. 250 plus carries.
There you go.
I'm not positive that he is, and I wish nothing bad. I don't know that he replicates that. And as much as Jordan Mason was having a nice run with the 49ers last year, there's a reason why they were 6-11, right? So, and he had a decent part in that. I don't think they can run the football as consistently as they did a year ago, which aids McCarthy as one of the reasons why he was so good.
Have to do, right?
Yeah. 100%. So I think the Vikings are eliminated by this point. I do think it's a closer game though, right? Like even if the Vikings are simply playing spoiler pride, Brian Flores getting a head coaching job, like you just mentioned. Right. I think it's a tighter game, but I got the Packers playing for the division here at 12 and trying to go to 12-5 and have a chance to win the division against the Lions. So I got the Packers winning it here.
Okay, well then we will acquiesce to your positivity to put the Packers at 12-5 to end the year. And what is Vegas over under on the season? Is it 9.5? So they're over, right?
Well over, yeah. Let me pull up because no one cares about Vegas anymore. No one wants to go there and pay $48 for a prime rib dinner. What you really want to do is go to the Potawatomi Sportsbook, bet big, bet bold, and bet above the rest. And right now, they have the Green Bay Packers as we check the more wagers department at 9.5 wins.
That's what I thought, right?
And so a minus 120 to make the playoffs. So they say if they win 10 games, they're in the playoffs.
Yeah, all makes sense to me. The Packers here in the world of Carry the G Radio, the podcast, sitting at 12-5 in the playoffs.
And plus 275 to win the division. If that's where you think if you think they're finally getting hats and t-shirts again.
Let's do it. Come on now.
The North is not
enough, Billy. The North is not enough.
Long.
That's all I know. The North is not enough. Got to make. I need deep playoff runs, Billy. I need to get back to that. I need home playoff games is what I need.
A home playoff game is a big part of it. Now, the fascinating piece into it is, Nags, you just look and think about it. Best division in football that we looked at and talked about the schedule last year or the standings last year, 0 playoff wins.
0.
So there's a lot of people that are saying, show us again. And let's see if it's the same deal. I think it's going to be competitive again. I think everyone's going to be good. I don't think the amount of teams there's 3 teams making the playoffs here. And I think that there's 2. And I think it's the ones that start this season up at Lambeau Field.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And I'm really hoping the Packers get back to winning the division. Like Brian said at his closing press conference, time to get back to contending for titles. Enough of this sneaking into the playoffs as a wild card nonsense. That is those days we had the youngest team in the league 2 years in a row. Done with that. like it is time to take control. It is time to win your division. Like that is the step that has to be taken this year. That's what I think.
And then we're getting Nags in Green Bay for the playoffs for the home playoff game.
Yeah, I think that might occur. I think Billy, right now, what I'm thinking is,
let's go. That was
I'm
I
gonna
did not
go.
think I was
I'm
gonna
gonna
need
be
that agreement.
there. I'm gonna be there for the home opener because
Okay.
it's never happened for Matt, so I want to be there.
Yes, that's awesome.
Gonna be having the Cheesehead TV Patreon / Carry the G Club meetup the weekend of the Vikings game. So that's Saturday
Okay.
prior to the Vikings contest. And then, yeah, I think I'm coming back for a playoff game.
Oh, that's awesome. Let's
So
go.
3 times.
Do
Got 3
you
visits.
have your training camp kind of earmarked as to when you're gonna be flying in?
No, we see. Well, there's a decent. We kind of know.
Got
right?
an
Once
idea
you've
as
been
to what
doing
it's
this for
gonna
so
be?
long.
Yeah.
It's like that last week of July will most likely be, heading into that weekend of
into family night. You would assume
family night.
Yeah.
But this is what I need. I need the date for family night. My whole trip revolves around it, and until I get that date, I'm on.
Because then you're out day before family night, correct? Or are you out day before the first preseason?
No,
game?
I'm playing Mile of Music during family night, and that's
What
why
the
I need to
hell am I
know that family night is on X night. If it's on Friday, Motelman's playing Saturday. If it's on Saturday, Motelman's playing Friday. Like I have
there
to
we
know
go.
family night. So
I think you're playing August 1st. I think you're
I
playing
hope-
August 1st.
I hope
that
so,
might be
yes.
good. That would be good because that's also a week that we that I've heard Lil Birdie might find a large sum of these group of people up in Green Bay.
Just gonna say, I heard through the grapevine that you guys, 97.3 The Game, going to be in town that week. So I think you, me, a couple other folks might be getting into trouble around town in Green Bay, Wisconsin that week.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait for it. And there's no other team that's going to be pulling me back during the week. So the only thing that's pulling me in is going to be a couple of cold beers that are going to call my name, if you know what I'm talking about.
Hey, all I know is make sure you bring the College 25, or I think it will be College 26 at this point.
It'll be College Football 26 at that point. Oh yeah, 100%.
I need my rematch. I need to get on the sticks and make
the
up for
best
that
thing
loss.
is, as the entire station is upstairs and the millennial in the group is the only son of a gun that's sitting inside in just blasting AC under a blanket playing NCAA football. And I was so happy that somebody came down to play, and it ended up being Aaron Nagler. And we got into an instant classic there.
That was an outstanding game. So we got to do that again.
We do. And I don't know. Maybe we both play Madden sometime. I mean, we
at
both
some
have
point this needs to happen.
We've talked about it.
Dude, I'm starting to do Madden. I'm doing Twitch streams almost like not every morning, but lots of mornings. So check it out on the Cheesehead TV Twitch channel. I'm on there playing quite a bit.
Well, let's figure it out how we can make an early morning game on that pitch. Let's do that. That's
what
awesome.
I'm talking about. Let's do it. That will work. What also works is going 12-5. We figured that all out here. You don't even need to watch this season, really. Just tune in for the playoffs.
Done.
The Packers are making it. Billy,
and
this has been great. This is ridiculous that it took so long for us to kind of re-jump start Carry the G Radio, the podcast, but I'm glad we've done so and figured out the Packers schedule. Always appreciate the time, and I'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate it, brother. All wins.